Hey there guys, welcome back to another episode of Gavinsky's Tutorials. Today I'm going to do a detailed walkthrough of Naive Tracker. So this is an iPad and iPhone app, runs on Silicon Mac as well, by the developer of Nanoloop. Oliver Wittchow, I think is the pronunciation. That's what he's under on the App Store. If you look for the website, search for Nanoloop instead. Let me just pause this a second. So, so this is a tracker, right? And it's basically designed to be very easy to use on touchscreens. You know, trackers are something that I've never managed to get into. This is the first one that seemed kind of really accessible. And I think it's really pretty cool. It's really fun to play with. I mean, you can use this to make, techno-style tracks and stuff, but it's a really great bleeps and bloops machine as well. And you can even do sort of granular stuff in it as well if you make your samples really short. It's huge fun. The only thing is, it's not AUV3, which is just a freaking massive pity. Like, I would love to have this in AUM and, use like external effect apps and stuff on it. So I've no idea really whether the developer plans to make it AUV3. Another good thing about if it was AUV3 would be you could record directly into it, from a channel strip in AUM or whatever, right? Have a channel here, have a synth, some plugins, whatever, record directly in, right? But you can't do that. You'll notice as well, by the way, it doesn't have a background play option. I've got a few other criticisms about it as well. I'll leave those maybe for later in the video. But overall, I like the app. It's really a lot of fun. It's a very different workflow for me. But, it's good to be forced out of your comfort zone, especially in this era of everything just being about like a convenience and, optimizing workflows and all this bullshit. Like, that is not how you learn. You learn by doing challenging stuff, right? So, okay, so let's look at the basic idea here. Let me just play this a little second. So I'm going to tap on this thing here. And if I tap this twice, it's now in song mode and it's going to loop background. Now, you know what I just realized? Because I adjusted the volume there, but it only adjusted the volume for one of those tracks. So there's no global volume control in this maybe, which is a little bit inconvenient when you've already got a song set up, So yeah, so you can see here, what we had was 4 times we had this pattern, which is called pattern 0 playing, and then it played pattern 1, and then pattern 2, and then pattern 1 2 times again, and it went back to the start. I won't bother, adjusting the volumes on that because I'm going to mostly start with a fresh instance here. So I'm just going to go clear all, save it first if you want. Okay. So here we've got a fresh instance, right? So this is what it'll look like. So you can see here at the top it says kick mono, right? And if I press here, I can audition that, right? Now there's a lot of other things we can do to that. If we tap here, we get a bunch of options. We'll look at those in a minute. Press X to close that. So if this is selected, it means any cell that I tap on, that kick will be added there, right? Now, if I go here and let's say I go in here and here we have this list. If I scroll down this, I'll be able to audition that and it'll use the active steps that I just created, right? So you can see here, this is a folder of beats. This comes with the app. If I press those 2 dots, it'll take me back. So I have beat, I have bleep, right? I love this one. This is really, really fun to play with. But for now, I'm going to put this to sinus, I think. So then, we can tap here and it'll open up this and, you can navigate to external folders, iCloud, whatever. So that's good. So yeah, I mean, I won't bother demoing right now this noise folder, which also comes, but maybe we'll see some of those later. So here we have now this sine. So then here, if I tap here, now we have a snare, right? So I can tap, and you see what you really need to understand with this tracker workflow, like, you know, if you're used to a DAW way of thinking, you might kind of think, you know, or like a MIDI piano roll or whatever, I don't know, but you might think, you know, okay, we're going to keep this track for the sine and we'll just put snares over here and so on. No, I mean, you can put any of these sounds on any track, and you know, it can be interesting to do that. One thing you'll notice as well, see, this is what makes it interesting. If you see here, if I add in this little sine step very close to this one, it depends how long the sample is, but you can hear the sample here is long enough that basically the envelope is getting cut off by the second one, and we get this clicky sound, which is, you know, part of why these are so cool for doing glitchy stuff. So, you know, if I well, let's look at that in a second. Let me just tap here. Okay. I'll show you another cool thing. Hang on. So let me just show you one little thing. I didn't really want to show this yet, but I think it makes sense to now. Okay, so if I delete this, if I press on a step again, it'll put that, whatever the thing I deleted was, it will paste that, right? So if I take something and I change it, like for example here, these are parameters. This one is for adjusting the pitch. We'll talk more about these in a minute. But if I just take this and I press on it and then I drag up, it's going to pitch it up one semitone. Right? So now basically we have two different sounds in here based on that sine sample. And if I now delete that, and if I tap somewhere, then it'll paste that. If I tap this and delete it, and then tap somewhere, it'll paste that, right? You know, if I then go over here and select this, now if I tap somewhere, it's going to put that in, right? And again, as I say, you know, you can hear that this is basically shortening this sample, all part of the cool effect. And there are other reasons as well why you might want to have different instruments in the same track. You know, maybe you transpose them all at the same time. We'll look at that a little bit later. Let me just clear this for now. Okay, let's just get the sine again. There we go. All right. So, you know, in the default, it's set up with you know, that is the kick. This is a snare. Here, hat, GB noise, piano, FM bell, undertones, crash. Right. Now, with the sample, we can play around with stuff. Let me find one that will be good fun to play with. I'm gonna actually pick a different one. Let's pick this harmonics one. I love this. Let's just audition that here. Okay. Let me put that a little bit earlier. Okay, so let's look at playing with the sample. So first of all, you know, you can record in. Because it's not an AUV3, it's just going to record in from the mic. Again, I mean, you can load samples, right? But this is why it would be good if it was an AUV3 and you could load it in an effect slot and record directly into it. So anyway, if I press this, now it's recording me. If I press this, right, now it's recording me. If I press this, now it's recording. If I press this, now it's recording. If I press this, so then, you know, we can adjust our samples. For this, I'm just going to go back to the harmonics one. So tap here. Let's look at range first. So here, adjusting the range, you know, the start and the end point. Right? If I tap here, now we're changing the position. And note, if you bring it down to the bottom, you can also shorten that, right? Otherwise, it's going to preserve its length, right? As I move around this middle section, it'll preserve the length. When I get to the ends, it'll shorten it. So let's just bring that up there. Now then we can draw on this as well. Look at this. Right? Now one thing, no undo and redo, which is really, really disappointing. It's so useful in an app like this, and it's useful as a performance control. I think that I have mentioned that is coming. I think so. Can't remember if he confirmed it, but he did say it would be useful. Okay, we have a few other options. Save, trim. I can't see any difference between trim and range currently. You can normalize too. We don't need that for this, but might be useful if you record something. You can also invert and reverse. Right? So, you know, you play around with these things, you can really mess with your samples a lot, and you can do some pretty cool stuff. I'm just going to stop that for a second. So, another thing. Okay, so I don't want that. Let's go back and tap on this S. You know, it's a pity you've just got one letter. There would be room for two letters, and it might be useful because, you know, from this I can't distinguish between sine and snare. I mean, not too hard to remember, but still. Okay, so let's just add another one of these. So, one thing that's really useful, this is currently set, remember, to the parameter that will change pitch. So if I press on an empty cell on that track, and if I move up, now it's shifting both of those up in semitones, right? If I press all and I have stuff in other tracks, it'll also affect those, right? So this works for all types of parameters over here, right? Now, see again, like I'm pressing on this void place, right? So I can adjust both at the same time. So what we had there was an upwards or downwards movement, right? So a vertical movement to adjust the pitch in semitones, right? And if I go here to the right, now it's putting it up an octave. And this can sound great, pitch down, yeah. So here it switches to A instead of 10. I don't know, maybe that's some sort of tracker convention, just to keep it one digit, I guess, I don't know. Okay. So let's leave it at that, down an octave. So that's this parameter, right? Now, by the way, if you tap on a parameter and hold, then up at the top, right, you can see it'll show you, you know, vertical semitone adjustment, horizontal octave adjustment, right? So if I go in and tap here and long press, here we can see vertical pitch envelope and horizontal length, right? So this time let me just adjust one of them. So let's adjust this one. So I long press on this and swipe up. And you hear now that pitch. Right? So swipe around to get exactly whatever it is you want. Listen to that. Boom, boom. Here we got a downwards one, right? Boom. Downwards, upwards. Okay. Put it here to go back to default. Okay. So this one here, LFO and frequency. Now I think it said in the manual, if I remember, values 1 to 5 here. The phase of the LFO will restart with every note trigger, but above that they're free running. Okay, we're back at default. So this one here, envelope and shape. So let me adjust both of them this time, let's see. So if I go up, we're lengthening it. Go down and we're shortening it. Here we have 3 different envelope types. This is attack and decay, this is gate, and this is just decay. The gate one is good if you want sort of clicky sound. The decay one, that's the one I use more. The default for this is B, which is useful to remember because I don't see any way to like reset to default. Now, one criticism, by the way, I'll make, I'll maybe mention this at the end when I kind of recap the things that I think could be improved in this. But look, you know, if you think about this, like if I'm back on the parameter that adjusts the pitch, right? If I want to say go up, you know, 7 semitones, the way it's set up currently, you got to drag through all those unwanted intermediate values, right? Like there's no way that I could just jump directly to 7. And to me that is, I think that means that the dev is kind of thinking a little bit too much in terms of hardware, and maybe where you've got, you know, a screen that's just giving you visual information, but you can't actually interact with it. Because to me, it seems really obvious that what would be useful here is if I could go over here and press, you know, directly on one of these instead of scrolling like that. But you can't do that. So I do think that could be an improvement that would be very useful for many of these parameters, being able to jump directly to the thing that you want. I'm not saying that should be the only option, right? Because I think going through those intermediate values, you know, that can also have a particular sound. You might want that, but you wouldn't. I personally wouldn't want that as the only option. Is all I'm saying. Okay. So then here, this one, volume and pan. So there's our volume, right? Pan, right and left. Now obviously this can be pretty fun to play with. If we go and open up this little thing here, you'll hear I set it up that some things are panned right and some left, right? Just play it through. Double tap this to loop it. to this. Let's just bring in a kick. So remember, I can go in and adjust the range. I want to make that nice and short or whatever, no problem whatsoever. Okay. Oh, nice. Fine tune. I don't know if that's working. No idea. I haven't actually used that until now. Just realized. No. How are you tuning that? Don't know. All right. So here, offset and loop length. For this, I think it will be better to use something different. Let's use this harmonics thing. So you see now it's starting from, higher up the sample. So that's vertical movements. And then here's horizontal. Now it says in the manual, if you swipe all the way up and you get this equal symbol, it'll randomize the note start position every time, but I don't know if it's a bug or what, but that's not happening for me. I presume it's not happening for anybody else either, so I don't know if it's some kind of misunderstanding of mine, but I feel like it's pretty clear what the manual says, and it's not doing what the manual says, so I don't know. So this one here, this filter. So let me just let me press all here, and I can adjust all of them, right? So here, look, the L on the top left, so that means low pass filter, right? Here. So horizontal is switching between low and high, and vertical, the frequency. So there's the low pass frequency with a value of 10. Remember that A just means 10, basically. And there's the high pass with the same value. And so let me just reset to default by putting it to L and putting it up to the highest frequency. Okay, now let me put in a few of these. Let me first grab them and let me adjust their volume. So I'm going to tap here and drag down. Oh, I accidentally adjusted the volume of everything. I don't really want to do that, so let me turn all off. Okay. So now I'm just adjusting the volume of those. So let me take this first one, for example. Let me tap here on this meta thing. So I take the first one. So if I press A, now this will only play every other time around, right? And B is the same, it's every other time around, but one of them is like the odd numbers and one's the even numbers. So for example, pass 1, pass 3, pass 5, pass 7, whatever. The other one will be pass 2, pass 4, pass 6, and so on. 1 means it'll only play once every 4 bars. And again here we're just changing, which bar it will play on. Will it play on the first of 4 bars, on the second of 4 bars, on the third of 4 bars, or on the fourth of 4 bars? So that's the vertical control for this one. And then right, that's a delay. So it's just making them come in later. So let me adjust that, say, for every other one and see, if we have a sort of swing effect. You hear that, right? See, this one here is louder. If I want to get that down again, I got to tap here and adjust that. So remember, on this one, the volume one, left, that's pan left. Right, that's pan right. It's only doing it on this track because I haven't selected all. If I select all, then now just everything is panned left. Now everything's panned right. Now everything's back in the middle. Okay, so then we come into making a song. This is something that really confused the heck out of me. Thanks to, I think it was a guy called Timelining. I assume a guy. I mean, I don't know, there are some women in this space, but it's mostly guys, I gotta say. For explaining this to me, because it really wasn't clear enough to me from the manual. So if you see here, I pressed plus and it added another copy of this pattern 0, right? Now, if I press here, now this is also 0. So if I want this to be an actually different pattern, then I press this arrow here, and now that's changed to 1, right? And now I can just draw things in here, and you can see here now, these two are the same, right? And any changes I make here, see here, any changes I make here, because these have the same name, if I add this on this first one, it'll also be added on this one, right? If I want to adjust this, I'm going to have to change its number to something else, If I change it to 1, then any changes I make here will also apply here. So, you want to pick a different number for that, for example. Oops. So, I have to say, I find this really a bit hard to get used to. I'm sure it's fine for people who are used to like a hardware workflow or something. But for me, it definitely didn't work the way I was expecting it to. But that is how it works. And if we just go back to this little thing here, this little example. It's a good opportunity to look at these controls. So if I press this, it'll resume from the same position. If I pause it and press this, it'll resume from the start. Right? If I press this twice, it'll loop around. And remember here, we've basically got a very basic song where we've just got pattern 0 repeating 4 times, then pattern 1 1 time, pattern 2 1 time, and pattern 1 2 times, and then back to the start again, right? There's a few other things too. So like we can copy a pattern, right? So let me get this one here, for example. So if I press C, I copy it, and then if I go down here, add, and this, and if I long press this, it'll copy that pattern in there. But that was the same anyway, so it's not. But yeah, basically, press this just quickly to copy, and long press P, like it had got to be 2 seconds at least, to then paste. This dot, by the way, at the bottom, let me turn off the song mode and just play this. Let me take the volume of these down. Okay, there we go. So this dot here, if I press this, it'll mute this track, right? Now, one thing though that I find weird is, let me put this back on song mode again. So let me press that twice. So see, if I mute this now, it doesn't actually work because it's only muted it on this step. I find that a bit weird. I don't know. I haven't found a way like to have a kind of global mute for a track when it's going through songs. So I don't know, you know. I think the option would be good. So anyway, that's tap on this, right, to mute or unmute. Also, you can swipe left. That'll copy a track, right? And then you swipe right, and that'll paste a track, right? So that track's been pasted there. We can also tap here and move up, and that'll shift everything up, and go down, and that'll shift everything down. If I press all, then it'll, you know, do that for all of the tracks, I think. Let me see. Oh no, hang on. Let me see if it does. We'll do that. I know it doesn't actually for this one. Okay, that doesn't work for this. So I got to shift each one separately if I want to do that. There's another thing as well that you can do. If you swipe right on this plus, it'll just quickly duplicate a track, and you don't have to bother with doing all the sort of copying and worrying about numbers and so on. I think there's something else that I maybe have forgotten to mention. Oh yeah, so let me play this. Okay, so we're just playing this pattern, right? It's not going through a song or anything. So if I take this sign, and if I tap and swipe left, right, then that will mute, and do the same, and it'll unmute. Right. And what else? Okay, if you tap and swipe far left, it'll solo that. Here, you know, it's not making a difference because all of these are that sign. So let me add a few steps of something else. Okay. So if I swipe left and down, it'll make everything play again. Everything's turned on again. All right. So I think that is everything, I think, covered, guys. If I've forgotten anything, I'll mention it in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's it. I hope this was useful for you, and massive thanks to people supporting me on Patreon. That's really the main thing keeping this channel going. If you like the channel, definitely check out the Patreon. You'd absolutely love it, I'm sure. All right, guys, take it easy, and I'll see you soon. Take care.